Yeah, brother. Get on dance, baby. Welcome to the Terry Dome. I want to tear them up, too. It's all yours, though, brother. I'm going to be nice tonight. I'm going to shut the hell up. But I want to get me some. I want to get me some. That's okay. I'm letting it go. All yours, brother.
Last week we ended up with more on Christianity and Judaism. I'm in today with more into Islam. I'm getting more into Islam today. But I wanted to reiterate just a few things before we got into Islam. Before I get into that, I always have to open up with all praise to our ancestors, those who are known and those who are unknown, and praise to our elders, those who may be listening and those who are not listening, and praise to our African kings and queens that are yet to be born. To the listening audience, I want to say Hotep. Hotep is an African term that means divine peace and blessings to you. So I greet the listening audience with the greeting words of Hotep. We ended last week with the word on Christ. And I just want to reiterate a few things before we go into the Islamic madness. I just want to reiterate that the word Christ is, of course, is an English term, but its origin is African. Before the English term Christ, you had Christos, and before Christos, you had the African term KST without the vowels, which would be Christ. It was first attributed to the African genius Imhotep. He was a real person. We're talking about 2640 BCE. Every doctor who takes his so-called proclamation, he has to bear witness to the god Asclepius and his let me think of the term. When you bear witness that you won't give any harm, or you bear witness that you won't give harm, in that proclamation, in that doctor's proclamation that's given, you'll see the term Asclepius. Asclepius is the Greek term for the god or for the black deity named Imhotep, who again was a multi-genius. This term Christ, which was first attributed to him, was given to him by the pharaoh named Zoser. This is all attributed to history. This is all you can look up. His name is Zoser. Again, we're talking about 2640 BCE. He gave this term Christ or KST to Imhotep. So I just want to reiterate that the term Christ is not a person. It's actually a title. In Christianity, the term was attributed to my anointed one, but it was attributed to this so-called person named Jesus, which never existed. But I wanted to show you the actual African origin of the word. To show you the origin of this white deity named Jesus, if you Google Greek god Christos, and you hit images, you will see the actual pictorial imagery of where you got this white Jesus with the blonde hair and the blue eyes and the beard. It's a Greek deity. It's a Greek manifestation that went from a Greek deity until when the European got it and they cleaned him up a little bit. And that's how you got the individual with the beard, with the long flowing lock hair. All this again, goes back to a Greek deity. So just go Google Greek god Christos, hit images, and that's where you'll find your so-called Jesus. Like I said, Jesus is a title. The word Buddha is a title. Buddha is an individual that never existed. Buddha means the awakened one. So anybody can be a Buddha, anybody can be a Christ, someone who is anointed. These are all titles. They were never someone in history. So just like Buddha was never someone in history, Christ was never someone in history, neither was this individual named Muhammad. Muhammad also was a title. It means one worthy of praise. And in actuality, there's coins in the 7th century. There's coins in the 7th century. On the front of the coin, you'll see a depiction of Jesus. On the back of the coin, you'll see a letter M, meaning Muhammad. So the first depiction in Islam for this individual named Muhammad was not for Prophet Muhammad. It was actually for Jesus, because Jesus was one who was quote unquote deemed one worthy of praise. So on the coin, and I'll give you I'm gonna show you a book. Where you can find this picture of the coin. The name of the book is entitled The Hidden Origins of Islam. That's the title of the book. The author is Karl-Heinz Oleg. Well, this is the title of the book. And in the book, it shows you depictions in the 7th century of coins with Jesus on the front and the letter M for Muhammad on the back, showing you that it was a title not attributed to a prophet Muhammad, but it was a title that means one who's worthy of praise. So we're going to discard this madness about this individual named Muhammad who was born in 570 and died in 632. Let me show you how the Arab Islamic, pathology called religion, how they grafted from African mythology and they grafted it into Islam. Now I was a Muslim for 9 years. So anyone who may be on the listening audience who is a Muslim, you can bear witness to this particular title. In Islam, there's a title called that Prophet Muhammad was called the Messenger of God or the Messenger of Allah. That was the title. And as a Muslim, you had to actually bear witness to this by your Shahada, by saying that I bear witness there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. So that title was specifically for Prophet Muhammad, the Messenger of Allah. But that very title, that very statement, its origin is African. Let me show you how. In ancient Kemet, that is the original term, and I'm gonna get into that. That is the original term of the word Egypt. Egypt is a late term. It comes out of Aietos, which translates into Egypt. But the original word of that landmass called Egypt was called Kemet, and it meant the land of the blacks. Now, there was a so-called European Egyptologist who would tell you that it means the land of the black soil, which is a bunch of madness. And they say that it means the land of the black soil because every year the Nile River it floods and there's some black soot that comes from the flooding of the Nile River. Now this particular magnificent thing that happens, this flooding, it happens only once a year. So for these Africans to decide to call their land that they live in because of some incident that happens once a year is a bunch of madness. It was called the land of the black because the whole atmosphere, we're talking about Kemet was called the land of the black. Even the surrounding areas are called land of the black. Ethiopia, which is a new term, the ancient African term is called Kush, and Kush meant land of the burnt skin face. This is what the Greeks called Kush, land of the burnt skin face. Sudan, which is Nubia, was called, Nubia means land of the black. So Nubia meant land of the black, Kush meant land of the black, Kemet meant land of the black. It didn't mean no damn land of where the flood had come once a year and the soil from the flooding had washed upon the shore. That's a bunch of madness. So all that land mass, because the melanin, dark melanin, which was a necessity for the people who lived in that area, they understood the power of melanin, and melanin, which for all that whole land mass was so important that they called it the land of the black. Hopefully I'm going to get into the whole power and the whole beauty and the magnificence of melanin. I'm gonna have a whole lecture on that about melanin. But again, melanin, Kemet, Kush, Nubia, all means black. So let's get into this term, messenger of Allah. In ancient Kemet, the god or the deity Tahuti was the messenger of Ra. And as a matter of fact, when you look up the deity Tahuti, a lot of times it's spelled Tejehuti. Sometimes it's spelled Djehuti, but it's pronounced Tahuti. The Greek changed it from Tahuti and came up with a different title, but I'm not even going to that different title. But this individual named Tahuti was called, he was the messenger of Ra. And a lot of times when you find Tahuti, you'll see him actually with a pen and a pad, showing you that he's the messenger of God. Ra in ancient Kemet meant God. So Tahuti was the messenger of Ra. And when when the Arab came among the African, they took that mythology, the messenger of Ra, Tahuti being the messenger of Ra, and they changed it from the messenger of Ra to Muhammad being the messenger of Allah. It's an African source. So let's get into this. And like I said, you'll find the actual depiction of Tahuti being a ibis bird with a pen and a pad. I briefly went over the ablution practice, and the ablution practice is in Islam is when you'll go to the mosque and you take off your shoes or sandals, whatever, and socks, and you wash your ankles and you wash up to your wrists and your face. This again is an African. It's an African source. Ablution in ancient Kemet, when the priest of Amen, and that again I said it last week. Amen is a word. It's an African term, but in every of the three different religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, at the end of your prayers, you say Amen, A-M-E-N. Sometimes it's spelled A-M-E-N. Sometimes it is spelled A-M-U-N. But this is an African deity, the god Amen. And when the priests would go into the temple, they would take off the African priests, they would take off their sandals, and they would practice ablution. They would wash their feet and ankles. They would wash their wrists and face. This is an African tradition that the Arabs stole and they practice today. In the African practice, when they would bear witness or worship the god Amen, they would pray 7 times a day, do it 7 times a day. But the Arab took it and they went from 7 times a day, and they do that same prayer 5 times a day. So I want to show you the origins of these different so-called religious practices. All of them have African origin. Before I get into end with this Islamic, I want to go to something that I saw on YouTube not too long ago. I was watching YouTube, and there was somebody had put up a depiction that they found some ancient writings of Yeshua, and in parentheses of the ancient writings of Yeshua, they had Jesus in parentheses. So what they were trying to allude to is that Yeshua, and they had Jesus in parentheses, Yeshua translates to Jesus. And they in this so-called writing or depiction that someone put up, that Yeshua translates to Jesus, and they had found these ancient writings of Yeshua trying to give you the illusion that Jesus actually was a real person. You can find him in history. So those of you who believe that, there's some Christians who say that, well, his name wasn't Jesus, his name was Yeshua. And even if that was his name, if his name was Yeshua, I don't know why the hell you don't call him Yeshua. Why you call him Jesus? But anyway, let's get into. Let me break that down. How that's even a lie. Yeshua just does not translate to Jesus. Let me say that again. The word Yeshua does not translate to Jesus. The word Yeshua, which is a Hebrew name, but Yeshua translates to Joseph, not Jesus. Let me say that again. Yeshua is a Hebrew word, but it does not translate to Jesus. Yeshua translates to Joseph. So again, we go back to, then where the hell did you get this word Jesus from? They're trying to conflate these different terms to give some validity to the word Jesus. The word Jesus, again, is a Greek word. I don't care how you try to move it around, how you try to make it proximal to Yeshua. It's a Greek word. I'm gonna tell you again that Jesus is a Greek word. The letter J. When you take the letter J from English to Greek, the letter J becomes an I. And the word I-E-S-U-S is a Greek deity. The word I-E-S-U-S, I-E-S-E-O-U-S is the same word. It is a Greek deity. When you go from Greek to Latin to English, the I becomes a J, and this is how you got your Jesus. So let's stop the madness about Yeshua means Jesus, because it's a lie. Yeshua translates in English to Joseph, not Jesus. So let's throw that out of the way. Also, let's get into this. I'm gonna finish with Islam. Let's get into this madness about the term Jew. That in antiquity there was this monolithic group called the Jews. Again, a lie. In antiquity there was no monolithic group called Jews. The word Jews, it is a contemporary word. So whenever you say the word Jews, and it was hijacked, it was a contemporary word. So that when individuals in this contemporary time, when they think about the word Jew, they think of the European. They think of the European that's now in Israel. And so you equate Jew with European. And so by thinking that Jew and European is one and the same, you start to think that in antiquity, that there was Jews, that there was individual named Jews in antiquity. There was no such thing of a monolithic group called Jews in antiquity. In antiquity, there were three groups. There were three major groups of Jews. It was the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Essenes. There was no Jews. There was no group of Jews in antiquity. There was the Sadducees, and it said also in your Bible, it tells you this. The Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Essenes, these are the three major groups. And somehow they conflated these groups until what you now call individuals call themselves Jews. But I want to let you know that in antiquity, there's no such monolithic group called Jews. There was these three major groups. So I wanted to get that out of the way about this Yeshua being Jesus and this contemporary word is called Jew, and trying to conflate that in history with the three major individual groups. So let's go back to this to Islam. Now the Arabs were a nomadic group. Nomadic meaning that they moved from place to place. They were not a sedentary group. And the difference between a sedentary civilization and a nomadic civilization, a sedentary civilization means a group or civilization that is situated. They have found a landmass that they're living, and they don't go from place to place. They are sedentary civilization, meaning that they have found a place and that they situated in this particular place. And when you're a sedentary civilization, you have time to study, you have time for prayer, you have time to build civilizations, you have time to build libraries, because you're sedentary. You built a civilization. But when you're a nomadic civilization, you move from place to place. A lot of times you're following your food source. So you're going from place to place. And this is what the Arab was. They were a nomadic group. So was the European. They were a nomadic group. They were not the European in antiquity were not a civilization where they went from place to place. I mean, where they had a sedentary civilization. They moved from place to place. So the Arab was a nomadic civilization. So they had no time for study. They had no time to build civilization. They had no time to build libraries. They had no time for any of this because they were moving from place to place. So they couldn't read and they couldn't write. So you're talking about 570 AD. So they're a nomadic group, and they say that Prophet Muhammad, he produced the Quran around 622. So my question to them is, when Prophet Muhammad produced the Quran in 622, what the hell did he write on? What the hell did he write on? They didn't have no damn books. They didn't have no damn pens. So what the hell did he write on? What pen did he use? What paper did he use? in 622. There was no pen, there was no paper among the Arabs. They didn't know how to read, they didn't know how to write. Even in your own teachings, it tells you that Prophet Muhammad was an unlearned person. So what the hell did they write on? So you can't show me or produce in history where the Arab produced this Quran in 622 when they had no paper and no pen. And to show you that the difference is the African had paper. It was called papyrus. They had paper. And when the European went into ancient Kemet and he excavated and found these Africans buried, he found they called it the Book of the Dead. That was a misnomer or a slander in the real name of the book. The name of the book that they found the African in, or when he was in his tombs, it was the African called it the Book Coming Forth by Day. The Book Coming Forth by Day. The European called it the Book of the Dead. So the African was writing. We talk about 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 years, they were writing. They had papyrus where they were writing on. And again, the European bear witness to this because he found them with the book and called it the Book of the Dead because he found them dead and he found a book with them. But the African called it the Book Coming Forth by Day and Night. But again, I want to ask any Arab, what paper, what pen did they use? And once they had the book, the Quran, where the hell did they put the book at? What library did they put it in? They had no libraries. What university did they put it in? They had no university in 622. So this is all just manufactured lie when it comes to another lie called Islam, that there's no historicity that can back up what they say. So let me tell you what they say, their evidence, how they came up with the Quran. In the tradition of Islam, when they tell you about the what the Quran was written on, they tell you that it was written on, the Arab would write the Quran, the verses of the Quran, but write it on rock. He would write it on leaves. He would write it on bones of animals. Now, I want you to think about this. They didn't have no paper. So when they wrote the Quran, when they first wrote it, in order to kind of codify the book, they would write it on leaves and rocks and bones of animals. Now, I want you to just think about this. Some damn fool with a bunch of leaves and rocks and damn bones in his damn pocket. This is what they're trying to tell you. This is how they kept the damn Quran, a bunch of leaves and rocks in his damn pocket. Does that make any damn sense to anybody that they wrote it on leaves, rocks, and bones before they codified it and put it in a damn book form? Does that make any damn sense? It's madness. It's madness. So I just want to let you know that no matter whether it's Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, when you start to apply the discipline of religion, you cannot, they start to fall short when you start to apply it. When you start to ask questions about these different fallacies that are attributed to these different religions. I also want to, so we're going to get rid, so that we're just going to get to the part about the Quran bit. We're going to throw that in the trash when it comes to any historicity there. But let's get to the Prophet Muhammad as far as his body. So he died in 632. Where's his body at now? I just want any Muslim that may be listening, where's his body at? Where's his certainly you would have tried to mummify him as best you can, but where's his body? You can't say that it's in the Dome of the Rock. So unless you want to give it some kind of pristine, give him some kind of pristine image by saying that he floated up to heaven. So is this where he's at? Is this he floated up to heaven? This is where he at? So you can't tell me that he's in the Dome of the Rock, because that's another 100 years before that's built. So I just want to show that there never was a person named Prophet Muhammad. There never was a person named Moses. There never was a person named Jesus. None of these will you find any history in any of these individuals. Even if we went back to the Quran, if there was a Quran that Prophet Muhammad had, where's that at? Where's Prophet Muhammad's Quran? Certainly, the prophet's Quran, certainly the Quran that was revealed to the prophet that someone wrote and gave to the prophet because the prophet couldn't read or write. So whoever wrote this and interpreted for him, certainly someone would have kept Prophet Muhammad's Quran. Where is the prophet's Quran at? And if you lost the prophet's Quran, he had 4 rightly guided caliphs. All of them had a Quran. Where's their Qurans at? So my question is, where is Prophet Muhammad's Quran? His 4 followers that he was his disciples, his 4 caliphs, where are their Qurans at? You can't find any of them. So this is the things I want individuals who may be in Islam. I want you to think about this, that there's no historicity in Islam. You can't back up anything when it comes to the Quran, when it comes to the history of Prophet Muhammad. You can't back up his history. You can't back up the evidence of the Quran. And if you can, then you should be able to put it in the chat. You should be able to write and let us know where we can find this ancient Quran. You should be able to tell us or show us where we can find the body of Prophet Muhammad. You should be able to show us where the bodies of the 4 caliphs are. And their Qurans, I'm sure that they would be buried with them. You should be able to show all these. So these are the things that I wanted to bring up when it comes to Islam, and when it came up to Prophet Muhammad and the Quran. There's also there's a book, and I'm going to bring it in I'm going to show it in my next week. There's a book by Sheikh Anta Diop, and the name of the book eludes me now, but I'm make sure I have it next week. But in the book, he shows you ancient depictions of what the African looked like. He shows you the picture what the Nubian looked like. He shows you a depiction of what the Kush looked like, the individual from Kush or Ethiopia looks like, and he shows you a depiction depicted by the African of what the individual in Kemet looked like. It shows, and then it shows you the individual from Libya. It shows you the European. So there's all these depictions, pictorial depictions of Africans, and they all have different. Their dress code just a little bit different, but all of them are jet black. And the reason why I bring this up is because for some reason there's this premise that the African is not a damn African in Africa. What I mean by that is that for some reason Egypt really ain't in Africa. There's this false premise or narrative that's put out there that Egypt is somewhere in the Middle East, and that Egypt's not real in Africa. And you now have Europeans trying to say that they left the Caucasus Mountains, walked their ass from the Caucasus Mountains and walked all into Kemet, or walked into Egypt and built pyramids. This is the premise that now everyone wants to latch on to Africa, wants to latch on to Egypt and say that they built the pyramids. They are the originators in ancient Kemet. You even have this premise that some damn aliens built the pyramids. Nobody wants to give any premise that the African built it, even though it is historically proven that the 3 pyramids was built by Khufu, an African, the first pyramid. The second pyramid was built by Khafra, and the third pyramid was built by Menkaure. All 3 Africans. And there's no historian, there's no Egyptologist that can disprove that Khufu didn't build the first pyramid, Khafra did not build the second pyramid, and Menkaure did not build the third pyramid. Everyone knows this. But for some reason, because we want to try to take Egypt out of Africa and put it in the Middle East. And now we want to, and the reason why I say that is because you have something called the Suez Canal, which is a man-made ditch. And this is how the abusive language that happens when it comes to Africa, that no one wants to give credit to the African, is that they built this man-made ditch called the Suez Canal, and everything west of the Suez Canal is Africa, and everything east of the Suez Canal is considered Middle East. But before the Suez Canal, that was all Africa. All that was Africa. Mesopotamia was Africa. All that area in your Bible, you talk about the blue and white now, that's all Africa. But now it's considered Middle East. So my question is that if there is such a thing called the Middle East, where the hell is the Middle South at? Where the hell is the middle North at? Where's the middle West at? There's no such place as Middle West, Middle North. But for some reason, we go with this abusive language, a place called the Middle East. There's no such thing called Middle East. All that is Northeast Africa. All of that is Northeast Africa. So you have this, even you have this place called Mesopotamia, and where the Sumerians, all that is Africa. All that is Babylon. They call it in antiquity, it's called Babylonia or Babylon. That's all Africa. It's all Africa. It's all Northeast Africa. They have this civilization called Sumeria, and Sumeria is supposed to be the older civilization than ancient Kemet. Again, Kemet is the African term of Egypt, and they'll show you there's depictions of those who built the Sumerian civilization. They will have there's individuals with white skin, big blue eyes. A lot of times they'll have a little beard, but they have big blue eyes and white skin, and these are supposed to be the this civilization called Sumeria. Then they'll tell you that Sumeria came first, and after Sumeria came Babylon. And then in the depictions of Babylon, you see them with, now these are depictions that's in stone. You see them with nappy ass beards and nappy head. Now this, you can look up the Babylonian civilization with these beards and these nappy heads. Now, what they're trying to attribute that Babylonia or the Babylon civilization came after the Sumerian civilization. And they'll show you that the Babylon civilization is definitely an African civilization because you can see in the depictions how they show themselves with curled nappy hair and beard. But they'll show you that the Sumerian civilization is a white civilization with blue eyes. Show me in history, how the hell did a white civilization predate Babylonian? This is a manufactured, made up depiction that the European in 4000, 6000 BC had a civilization called Sumeria. Again, Sumeria is in the Babylonia area. It is in the Mesopotamian area. That is Africa. So because you show me a particular pot of a European with blue eyes, you're going to try to tell me that civilization is a European civilization? I don't think so. And then the civilization that comes after that is definitely African, Babylonia, Mesopotamia, all African civilization. But there was a civilization that predated that was a European looking one, that was Sumeria. You have a Sphinx out there that is possibly 25,000 years old. I'm going to get to why I say 25,000 years old, or even older than that. You have a Sphinx out there that's 25,000 years old, and you have pyramids out there that are around the same age. But you're going to tell me that the Sumerian civilization predates that. The so-called European blue-eyed civilization out of Sumeria predates that. And so you may ask, how do you come up with that the civilization of in Kemet with this Sphinx is 25,000 years old or older? At the base of the Sphinx is water damage. At the base of the Sphinx, at the foot, where the paws are at, and at the other base of the paws and the right below the body, you have water damage there at the Sphinx. Archaeologists has found out that the last time that water could have been at that level of the Sphinx was approximately 25,000 years ago. Now, this is archaeologists. The reason why you'll have so-called Egyptologists tell you that that the Sphinx is only maybe 4,000 years old is because Egyptology comes out of the mindset of the Catholic Church. That's the Catholic Church is the one who put out this so-called theology or thesis called Egyptology. And whenever you notice, whenever they show these so-called Egyptologists, they're always European. They never have a so-called Egyptologist who is an African, though it's in Egypt, but they never have an African Egyptologist, all European. But that whole thesis, that whole mindset of Egyptology came out of the Catholic Church in the 18th century, 19th century. So the reason why it has to be somewhere, the reason why the Sphinx has to be somewhere around 4,000 years old is because it has to be in this Adam and Eve narrative. It can't be 6,000 years because in the biblical source of Adam and Eve is a 6,000 year period. Adam and Eve supposedly existed 6,000 years ago. This is Bible and Quran, 6,000 years. That the earth is only 6,000 years old. It's just madness. It's just a bunch of madness that God in one day created 6,000 years ago, created this human being called Adam. So this premise of anything being older than 6,000 years has to be negated. So this is the reason why that the pyramids and the Sphinx has to be within 6,000 years because it can't go beyond Adam. So all this has to be in this so-called Christian or religious theosophy that any monument building, any civilization can't be older than 6,000 years. And in the Egyptology helps push this madness. And so this is why they came up with this premise of the Sphinx being possibly 4,000 years old. But archaeologists who are not under the biases of religion, who study this water damage at the base of the Sphinx, will tell you that the last time that type of water or flooding could have happened in ancient Africa or ancient Kemet had to be over 25,000 years ago. So I just want to show you how old African civilization is. So if the pyramid, if these archaeologists will tell you that the Sphinx is over 25,000 years, that means that the civilization had to be approximately twice that. If the Sphinx is 25 to 30,000 years old, and that's a actual built civilization, then before you get to the actual monument, the civilization had to be 2 times past that before you actually bring something into existence called a Sphinx. But the actual civilization had to be twice that. So you talk about a 50,000, 70,000 year old civilization before they brought into existence this monument called Sphinx. This is what I want to show you, how old the African is. And don't tell me about a European civilization called the in so-called Mesopotamia that was not African. Again, Mesopotamia, that's all Africa. So let's get to this premise that the African didn't build this, that everyone now wants to leech onto Africa. So now I'm not trying to disprove or prove this UFO premise or these individuals from space, but for some reason, as I said, no one wants to give premise that the African built the pyramids. For some reason, we want to say that some Europeans call themselves Jews. 600,000 of them was in ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt under a wicked ruler, Pharaoh. And when you ask a Jewish person what was the name of the Pharaoh, they never can tell you the Pharaoh. They'll just say they'll just tell you that it was a wicked Pharaoh. And in their theosophy, they'll tell you that Moses had this conflict with this Pharaoh. And again, they don't know the damn name of the Pharaoh. At that time, I'm going to give you some history. At that time, the Pharaoh, if there was an individual named Moses existed, the pharaoh that would have existed at the time of Moses would have been Ramesses II. That's his name, Ramesses II. So if we go to ancient Kemet, where this so-called crime happened, and we go to the history of Ramesses II, there's no history of this pharaoh named Ramesses II having a damn conflict with a man named Moses. There's no history. Nowhere in Kemet, where it supposedly happened, do you find Ramesses II having a conflict with a man named Moses. There's no history of that. So the Jewish people, when I say Jewish people, I'm talking about the European people who call themselves Jews, who hijacked this term, as I went over that there was no term in antiquity named Jews. You don't find during that time period of these in Kemet where they had a conflict with individuals named Jews, but they'll tell you that this wicked pharaoh made the Jews build some pyramids. In this build the pyramids, he got upset with the Jews and got upset with Moses, so he made them build some pyramids out of clay and straw. So show me one damn pyramid in Africa that's made out of some damn straw and mud and clay. Show me that pyramid that these Jews built, that because the pharaoh was so mad, he made these Jews build these pyramids out of clay and straw. Where is this at? Where's this monument at? It's a lie. But the Jews say that they built the pyramids and that Moses led them out of Egypt and they went to the land of Canaan or whatever. We went over that madness. But there's this premise that there's this space individuals named Anunnaki. They came from space. They come to Africa. The premise is that they needed gold, and they came to this planet because they found out that this planet needed gold. I don't know who the hell told them that they needed gold on their planet, and they had to come to Earth to get the gold. I don't know where they got this. I don't know. Maybe the Anunnaki they spoke in English and told them that we came to your planet and we needed gold, and so we hijacked. I don't know where they got it from. But supposedly these Anunnaki came, they were humanoid individuals, and there's no way that the African built the pyramids because they're so mathematical, they were done with so mathematical precision that there's no way that the African could have done it, these primitive individuals. And so they had to have help from some spacemen. And so some spacemen came down. They came out of the spaceships. They got the tools, they got the hammers, they got the shovels out of the spaceships, and they showed these Africans how to build the pyramids. But you'll notice that these same Anunnaki ain't came back to show us any other technology, So for some reason they came and showed us how to build the pyramids, but they ain't showed us how to do anything else. And so this is the reason I'm bringing this up, because this is the premise, this is the crazy premise that the African didn't do it. It was either some space cadets who did it, or it was either the European came out of the Caucasus Mountains, walked his ass out of the Caucasus Mountains, thousands of miles. He didn't build anything in Europe. He didn't have no shoes, no socks, no writing, no university in Europe. We talk about 6,000, 7,000 years ago, but he came down and he built them, and he came down to Africa and built pyramids in Africa. So I want to get away this premise that the African didn't build it, that some space cadets built it, that Africa or Kemet is not in Africa, and that's really a European civilization. That even though even though Egypt is in Africa, it was not an African civilization. Even though it is in Africa, somehow Europeans were there and then they left it for the African. It's a bunch of madness. All of it is madness. All of it doesn't make sense. And anybody who thinks they have a shred of evidence to prove that the European was there prior to the African, please bring it. Please show me where the African where the European predates the African in Africa. Someone please show me that. Someone please show me some evidence of that. Someone please show me where 600,000 European Jews built the pyramids under a wicked Pharaoh? Someone please show me that evidence. Someone please show me the evidence where the word Jesus is equivalent to Yeshua. Someone please show me that evidence. Someone please show me where Prophet Muhammad is built. Someone please show me where Prophet Muhammad's Quran is at. Someone please show me where the university, where once they wrote the Quran in 622, they had university 622 where they stored the Quran at. Someone please show me that evidence. See, we're gonna bust through all the madness and all the fakery, and we want someone to bring some evidence, some history, as opposed to just rhetoric. And if you can do that, we can sit down, we can have a dialogue, and we can go over where you found your evidence. Tell me what book. I can show you the books. I can show you the archaeological evidence. I'm going to show you actual pictorial evidence of how the African showed himself in Sudan or Nubia, in Ethiopia or Kush, and in Kemet or Egypt. All African people. There's a depiction I'm going to close with this, about this Anunnaki. There's a depiction to show you how the European don't understand mythology and the power of mythology. There is a depiction in a Babylonia mythology where there is these individuals, again, with these nappy beards, nappy hair, and there's a big bird, and he's holding like a pine. And a lot of individuals would attribute this bird. He has a hawk head. He has a hawk head. He has wings, and he has a man's body. A man's body, a hawk head, and he's holding this pine. And in this depiction, many individuals will attribute this as being the Anunnaki. With a man's body, a bird head, and this is in the Babylonian depictions. And he's holding this pine type of image. I want to show you how this is one civilization and how Africans communicated with each other through mythology. In Kemet, in Africa, you have that same damn depiction. Here you got Babylonia right to the east of Kemet. Babylonia right to the east of Kemet. So you talk about one family in Kemet, in Egypt. You have that same damn depiction called Heru. Heru's depiction is a hawk head and a man's body. This was not a damn Anunnaki. This was not a damn spaceman. It's mythology. It is mythology, and in mythology, the hawk head and a man's body was mythology. The hawk represented divinity, and the man in the body, the body of the human meant a demagogue, an individual who is a demagogue. He's half God, half man. And in the mythology, Heru, the reason why they depicted him as a hawk, because a hawk flies high. His sight is very keen. So you talk about someone who has high spiritual insight, who rises above the earth. It is mythology. He has a hawk head and a human body. It's the same depiction in Babylon of this individual with a hawk, a bird head, and a human body. It's one family. That is in this depiction was in Babylon. The Heru depiction is in Kemet or Africa. It is one family who's sharing mythology. But the European took it out of context and said that this is a damn Anunnaki, somebody who came from damn space, who had a body of a human and a bird head. You don't understand damn mythology. You're not understanding this. So I'm going to show you that how the African communicated with one another through mythology. You have the same depiction, as I said, of Tahuti. And have in the African named him Tahuti, the Greek named him Thoth. Everyone knows him as Thoth, T-H-O-T-H. They give you the Greek name, Thoth. The African name was Tahuti. Just as you know Isis, you don't know that that's the Greek term. Isis, Osiris, Thoth, Mercury, these are all Greek terms. Mercury was the messenger in Roman. He was a messenger of God in Roman theology. But that goes back to Tahuti, which was the messenger of Ra. It's all the same mythology. But we don't know. We know about Mercury. We know about Thoth. We know about Isis, but we don't know the African terms because they want you to start with Greece and come forward, not knowing that the Greeks went into Kemet, sat down in the dirt, and learned from the African. Herodotus will tell you this, who is supposed to be the so-called father of history. Herodotus 500 BC will tell you when he went into Kemet, he found Africans with burnt skin and woolly hair. This is Herodotus. Burnt skin, woolly hair. This was his description of the ancient Kemites. And he went there to learn. Herodotus did. Hippocrates did. That term that I was talking about, Hippocrates, the Hippocratic Oath. That was alluded to me. And when the doctors, in the Hippocratic Oath, when they read or write or salute the Hippocratic Oath, in the Hippocratic Oath, you can Google it. In the Hippocratic Oath, you have the god Asclepius. The Greeks said that Asclepius was a god. Asclepius is the Greek term. The African name for Asclepius was Imhotep. One and the same. But you don't know about Imhotep. You know about Asclepius. All this comes out of African history, African mythology, and I just want to make you. I want to introduce you to what is African mythology, African history, and I want to give it to you in historic context. So with that, I will close, and hopefully we will see each other next week.
Bro, before you close, you know what I was thinking? I was looking at some of the Sumerian writings, and you know, it's kind of interesting how the Sumerian writings look like a blend with Chinese.
Yeah, but the thing is that
could that be a reason why we got that color, that shade that they think is white? It's the blend of the African with the Chinese. Because I have cousins that are both African and Chinese, and the mixture, and they look just like them. And that beard, you can't escape the nappy beard and the nappy hair.
But they want to, exactly, you don't want to escape that. But if not only that, look at the original depictions of Buddha. Now this is again, when you talk about Chinese, you still talk about an African source,
right?
Because when they left out of Africa, he went to all these different areas. When you look at the original depiction of Buddha, he has nappy hair. Woolly hair.
Yes, he does.
These new contemporary depictions of Buddha, he's bald-headed.
They shaved it off. Listen, they want to hide it, bro.
They're trying to erase the African origin of Buddha. And not only that, even in Japan, they will tell you that you cannot be a real samurai unless you had African blood in you.
True. Very true.
Let's listen to the audience know the far-reaching presence of the African on all these different civilizations, but the only thing we want to argue now is some damn critical race theory. We want to argue that about the damn critical race theory, damn Martin Luther King and all that. We want to argue that. We don't want to talk about the ancient African history. We want to talk about that. We want to get to that. So I'll leave it with there. And like I said, I'm gonna make sure I bring that book by Sheikh Anta Diop about the depiction, how the African depicted himself in Sudan, Ethiopia, and ancient Kemet.
All right, and we're going to cut it off in a few seconds, but I want to let people know I'm sorry I'm no longer on Facebook, whatever you want to call it. I've been censored. So the voice that you're hearing now is the voice of the late man that was on Facebook. But guess what, people? This man is also on YouTube. OKRU. Let me go through them all. Twitch, He's on LinkedIn. He's on, man, he's everywhere. Let's just be honest. Yeah, and if you got balls, go to the Global Enlightenment Radio Network website. That's gern-radio.com. And you can pick up the app so you can see this brother live on the app. This brother is busting it open. And I already sent this show to my man Jeffrey Daughtery, so I want you to know, I know he's going to be wanting you on his show. Bring the fire. And don't forget, get that book. Get that book. That book is fire. If you want to buy a book, give a gift, give some love to anyone out there, that brother right there has got the information for you. Tell him about your book real quick.
I also have a blog called Heru the Daywalker. Heru, Heru, thedaywalker.com. I have about 160 different blogs on that website. You can check that out also. I appreciate the time, brother.
Could you say goodnight to the people? Because they love you. They really do. You ought to see the numbers on the server. They love you.
Hotep, family, peace and blessings.